Hey again, everybody. Welcome back to the week 2 preview or week 1 recap show. I'm a little bit worried that I've cut my viewership in half by inviting Nabil on to be my co-host. But anyway, here he is, everybody. Belmont's
What
finest.
up? Belmont's finest, the local Niner fan.
Yeah, can you walk to the stadium from your parents' house in Belmont?
No, but I can walk to the old Niner Stadium where I live now in San Francisco. Good old Kezar.
Kezar?
Down the block.
Dude, they should. That's a cool stadium. Like, it obviously can't fit an NFL team anymore, but that's a really cool spot.
You know, prior to them choosing the shitty spot of Levi's, they should have just considered doing that, I think.
Yeah, just renovate Kezar. I'd be a fan of that.
Well, it's where they play at local soccer games, so it'll be
nice.
good.
Nice. So you've scored in Kezar Stadium?
Oh, that's nice of you to think that. I've scored in other ways.
Okay, there you go. I set you up for that. Come on, Nabil. Speaking of the Niners, so we're going to get started. Nabil specifically asked that he could talk about the San Francisco 49ers and their week 1 matchup with the Arizona Cardinals, which, of course, they lost. I was actually texting Kevin during the game. And in the second quarter, I told him it doesn't feel like we're winning. He said the same. And obviously, I think Nabil has some similar thoughts. So go ahead, take it away, Nabil.
That's me putting my soapbox down, okay? Because this is not even really a Niners issue that I have, okay? It's Jimmy G. If you look at the defense looked great. You had Solomon and Bosa on the line who were just, I think we're playing a really well game. Fred Warner's growing into an elite. And then the secondary, where I used to laugh and say that we don't have anyone, looked great. The RBs, the running backs, I mean, McKinnon coming back, scoring his first touchdown after 2 years.
That was nice.
Yeah, it was, I mean, there was like, I was sitting on the bed and I was stoked, but like since last season, I've had this like weird gut feeling, sitting like really low of just like, are we this good? And I was always doubting the record. Like inevitably we ended up 13-3 and went to Super Bowl, which is fantastic, but something didn't sit right. And for me, it's Jimmy G. And right now I want to call him Jimmy Injury, right? Like he, when we traded for him, what was it, 2-3 years ago, we selected him because at least he had composure. He was generally good at placing the ball where it needed to be. To me, it reminded me of like Alex Smith light, right? Like just an accurate passer, didn't go deep, didn't have this huge arm, wasn't super mobile, but he was something that could just win games. And I don't know what it was, but like he just started losing it. And I saw it over the last two years. It just seems like he's incredibly indecisive. His placement is poor, and because of that, we already have a thin receiving core. What is he doing?
Well, so that's the biggest point I think that a lot of the talking heads are going to say, right? Like, where was the receiving core though? Like, there's no Debo. Emmanuel Sanders has gone to the Saints. Brandon Ayuk, who's supposed to be this big rookie, big target for Jimmy G, is gone also in week 1. And then, late in the second half, and this was Garoppolo's fault. Kittle goes down with a sprained knee, and he played through it, but he didn't have a single target after that. So there was no one getting open for Garoppolo this game. As much as he did not look great in the pocket, I don't know how much better, like what were his options downfield, and we don't get to see that on the broadcast either. Like, were guys getting open? Like, if you watched it all 22, which I'm not going to take the time to do that every week. Maybe we can blame Garoppolo a little bit more, but I'm just saying that there's definitely some reasons that maybe Jimmy G was not looking so sharp in week 1.
But I mean, look, I can put this out while it's in the Super Bowl, or even with last game and what you could see of some of those incomplete passes to the receivers. Yeah, they're not all stars, right? Like,
right.
Hell, I would have, and I've been saying this since draft, I wanted Jerry Jeudy, but I get why they made the decision they did. But regardless, if you look at the passes, so many of them are either further behind the receiver, or they're just placed way too high and they're in danger.
Kittle got injured exactly because of that.
If we lost Kittle, we would have been dead.
Yeah,
Whatever. That's my homerage.
So
I'm just saying right now, I either want him cut, traded, or get out of my life. I'm over the
so
Jimmy G stuff.
it's not.
We'll win with our
It's
defense and our running backs. That's it. That's all we need. I'm over it.
It's the most important position in football. Someone's going to do it. You got to remember, this is Jimmy Garoppolo is essentially starting his third season of playing. You know, like he doesn't even have 2 full seasons worth of football games under his belt as a starting quarterback. He now this is the make or break it season then, though, right? Like this is it. Like this for most rookie quarterbacks or young quarterbacks, like by their third year, if you don't see results, then they're going to be gone. But he did take the team to the Super Bowl. You mentioned the point, Nabil. You said, you know, like, are we this good? And I understand that, like, that weird gut feeling, but like, I feel like it's similar to like how the Golden State Warriors felt in 2015. Like, were we that good? Yeah, we ran through the regular season. We got all the way to the finals, and then you're down 2-1 to LeBron. You're like, I don't know, are we this good? And the problem is, you know, Super Bowl is not best out of 3. So I think the Niners are this good. I do. I think that Arizona proved that they can play.
We paid them too much. We paid him too much to come off the bat after 6 games. Like, I completely agree with you. I think, again, behind our running back, Kittle, and defense, we'll be fine. And do I think we'll go 13-3? No, I don't think we'll go 6-10. I think we'll do better than that, and we'll probably end up with like 9-7 and be stoked because we'll make playoffs. I think we're the Tennessee Titans, really. If you look at it, except we don't have Derrick Henry. We have 3 running backs that equal Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
But otherwise, you know, good defense, terrible quarterback.
Well, let's keep our eye on how the Niners turn out. Obviously, I know not everyone in the league is a Niners fan, but it is a majority Niners fan league, so expect more of that. Let's move on to reviewing a couple of matchups. So the first one I want to talk about, of course, was our matchup of the week, which was Rocha versus Antonio. You know, 2 of the best teams according to Yahoo's projections and draft grades. Obviously, Antonio coming off of his second Splatted League title. Rocha with the only A grade. It turned out being I think actually the closest game, or maybe second closest game of the entire weekend. Ryan pulling out the win. Huge performance from DeAndre Hopkins. You know, the 14 catches, a career high for him, 151 yards. Proving to be, I think, the key difference in that matchup. Would you agree with that, Nabil?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I have Hopkins in another league, and it's just like with us being a full PPR. I mean,
right.
He had a great game. Possible too, that could is that possible that could be a floor? Like, but at least 14 receptions. This is the first time they played. They haven't had a preseason. They're starting to build chemistry. I mean, he might average something between maybe 12 receptions. It's kind of insane to think that this is just the first time they've played a real football game together.
I think his floor is going to be a little bit lower than that, just because Arizona is going to play some worse teams than San Francisco, and they're not going to need to throw the ball that often. That'd be my one thing. Like, Hopkins' best attribute's always going to be his deep threat, and I don't think 14 or even 12 is probably the floor, but it does feel like he's going to get, you know, 6 to 8 catches minimum every time he steps on the field, with 10 to 12 being a totally normal amount.
Right. And other than that, like, looking at some of the depth that, you know, Ryan has, I do think he can make a big push. I mean, like everyone in this league, you know, it'll be probably a common theme, maybe the rest of what we discuss is RBs, depth in RBs, you know,
yeah.
Sitting there with Cam Akers, who might become something later down the road. James White, he's RB2. I mean, other than that, though, like I'm Anthony Miller, especially if this Allen Robinson thing is true, he might just walk into having yet another wide receiver 1, because Anthony Miller is good.
Yeah. Well, and his stack of Mahomes and Kelsey did what they were supposed to. You know, they got him a combined 37.5 almost. You know, they did what they were supposed to. But Aaron Jones did what he was supposed to at the RB1 spot. He's got a lot of like really high talent at the quarterback and pass catching positions, and now it's just about the depth at running back. I think could be really big for him. Because on the flip side, you know, it's not like Antonio had a bad week either. You know, McCaffrey did what he was supposed to do. 2 rushing touchdowns, 38 receiving yards, 96 rushing yards. It looks like the second coming of David Johnson for Antonio, so he's got depth there at running back. And now with Duke Johnson getting hurt a little bit, it's definitely going to be a more long-term advantage. So even though Rocha gets the win, Antonio gets a loss, solid 121 up from Antonio. He's got to be feeling good going into week 2. I would say.
Yeah, and in my little notes for this game that I have, like, we potentially also saw Antonio's lowest score.
Possibly.
Right? Like,
yeah, very possibly.
If he can figure out some of the play, I mean, DJ Moore looked great in the first half, and I guess, they were going more for the deep threat of Robbie Anderson for Carolina. But, once he gets Sanders back and Cortland Sutton, I mean, his floor might just be 120, which, as we were discussing kind of pre-show, with that. Someone to watch out for, not who you want to go into a crucial week or something. If you're in your bye week, you're trying to avoid Antonio.
Right. You don't ever want to play Antonio when you're strapped and he's not. Looking at the second matchup that we wanted to talk about, welcome to the league, Spencer. We wanted to, unfortunately for you, couldn't get the W. James once again seems to have a fantastic team. 146 points, scoring the second highest total in the league. Deshaun Watson looks good, but not great in garbage time, at least, to get him up to 21 points. Calvin Ridley with a couple touchdowns was huge. And then Josh Jacobs, which scored 35.9 with 3 different touchdowns. So that's probably the ceiling for Jacobs. But what a performance for James. Nabil, I'm going to ask you, is there a better pick from the Rule 9 draft than James taking Josh Jacobs?
I don't think so. I think that became the foundation of what will be a successful year for James. Not necessarily taking him to the finals, but if you look at him as a foundation piece, to kind of sneak him as the 8th overall pick.
Just about.
Or no, it's much later.
He was the 11th round pick. Josh Jacobs was a first round keeper. Taking a look at the draft board now, so just going based off of average draft position, obviously McCaffrey was going 1, Saquon and Zeke, and then Dalvin of Cook, of course, went 3 actually in front of Zeke, but that was definitely considered the top 4 available, right? Nabil went with the rookie, which looks like it was a great pick at 5. Hoyt going with another running back with Joe Mixon at 6. And then we had a run of receivers that all got picked in front of Josh Jacobs, but James essentially gets to make that pick ahead of time. So you don't know necessarily how it all works out, but I think claiming one of those top 7 running backs with the 11th pick is going to turn out to be the pick of the Rule 9 draft.
Josh Jacobs could end hands down as like a top 5 running back.
Absolutely.
I think he can still be more involved in the passing game. The Raiders looked competent, and that's terrible coming from a Niners fan. Like, I didn't even think they were going to look that good. And they came out and, did they have some mistakes, and are they maybe going to get plagued from injuries? Probably. But Josh Jacobs looked good. I would agree with you. I think the overall value of getting what could be, a top 5 pick next year, as your 11th pick or whatever, I agree.
Yeah.
Do you happen to know, did he get slated in that position with Antonio, or did he trade back? Because we traded back, and he knew
that was actually that was a trade that James made with
Chris,
me.
Yourself?
Well, I literally read my name. No, I was at 2 and I was at 11. He was at 2. And that pick was part of the off-season trade where I sent him Calvin Ridley. So that pick on its own, I moved up elsewhere in the draft. He moves back, grabs Josh Jacobs, gets Calvin Ridley as one of his 2 keepers. Ridley goes for 33.9. Jacobs goes for 35.9. So James's off-season moves absolutely crushed it for him in week 1.
Did you initiate that trade?
I did not. No, I did. I offered. I said that he looked like he was a little shy on receiving core if he wanted Ridley or Edelman or one of those, and I can't remember exactly how we came to it, but I will admit that the swapping first round picks was part of James's idea. I love the idea of jumping up into the top 2 and grabbing one of Saquon or Zeke. So why not? I went for it. I can't remember what other. Let me grab my.
All in all, it
was
James into the mad scientist. You know,
it was a first round swap, and then also I moved up in the 4th round. It was the second for the 11th, and then in the 8th I moved up as well, and then in the 9th he moved up. All picks being the 2 for 11, and then he got the rights to Calvin Ridley.
That's
so yeah.
Good job by James. It's possible.
Great move.
Possible way of ending up etched in for what, the 3rd time possibly, or no, it's 2nd time. We have
third time. No.
Right?
James went to 3 finals in a row. However, he lost the middle one to yours truly. So his name is on. It's technically the only name on the keg twice. Antonio and Kevin. Antonio's 2nd win and Kevin's 1st have not been etched on there yet, for many reasons. At this point, we might just have to wait for 5 years worth and get it all done at once. But yeah, let's move on from that one. There's a couple other teams that we wanted to look at. Nabil, you had some thoughts on Drew's team.
Yeah, actually, I do want to go back for 2 seconds, and then I'll move into Drew's. I do want to say on the point of Spencer. Look,
right.
I'm guilty of saying this, but I heard murmurs too that we were all questioning the John Brown pick, and right now he's an oracle, right? Like, yeah. I mean, it turned out so far to pay off. Am I overreacting week 1? Probably. But honestly, I'm going to tip of the cap, and I'm going to apologize for the murmurs in the background. That was a solid pick. Now, moving over to Drew.
To Drew, yes. Drew, who is first place Drew Kitchen.
First place, Drew Yagibi Kitchen. And honestly, I'm looking at his team. And in the beginning, I was kind of questioning what the strategy would have been with going with Devontae Adams. And while I still think there's question marks as it relates to the running back, if you looked at it prior to this week, he actually developed enough depth where I think it was a great strategy to go wide receiver in the beginning. And while it's still kind of a question mark moving forward, I mean, definitely a solid performance. And Russell Wilson, when he got him 2 years ago, 14th round, that's a steal. That was a mistake that a lot of us are going to regret, because if you can hold on to Russell Wilson for the next 2-3 years, I mean, it's a good foundation piece. Well, I don't think you need a quarterback early, or really until the later rounds. Like Russell Wilson, let Russ cook, and I think that's what they're going to do. And I think that could be what, good old Chinese nuts does.
Yeah, no, I think the Russell pick ends up being one of the more overlooked but very highly valued picks. That he easily Wilson's been playing and at a high level for the next 3 years, and Drew's going to have him for those 3 years with good keeper value if he wants him, just period. So Drew, despite maybe not the unorthodox strategy, I think just going no running backs early like everyone else did, it's working out. It is working out. The other team I want to look at. I would say
watch out though. Watch out because he is sitting there with Bell on the IR. Okay, Marlon Mack I believe he had a ruptured Achilles.
Right.
And then now he's got to also juggle do I play Dobbins or do I play Ingram? I'm curious to see how it goes moving forward, because he might be able to sit with Sony Michel going in as his RB2, but it'll be interesting.
It feels like one of it feels like one of those teams where if he sets his lineup right, he's gonna score 153, but if he sets it wrong, he's gonna score 83 with 100 points on the bench. Also,
Exactly.
I wanted to talk a little bit about we talked about Devin's team a little bit last week, or at least I did. Wanted to revisit that as well, just after what seemed like a rough week going into week one. Uh, then on Johnson not really getting much work at all for Devin, while Adrian Peterson kind of stepped in. Right now, Devin does not have. Uh, he only has one running back that's projected for double digits, which again, I know that the Yahoo projections like don't necessarily mean anything. But Gronkowski and did not look good, as my bold prediction ended up turning out to be wrong. Uh, just know that I know you get a trick up your sleeve, Devin, but definitely if anyone needs running back help, I think it's gotta be him, right? Like it's always one team every year, but it's Devin this year, in my opinion.
And I think, he, even in our group chat, he's kind of aware. I mean, when you're
Yeah.
sitting there, On's not getting the work that he was projected years ago.
Right.
Right. Jordan
Right.
Howard, who honestly didn't, maybe he'll turn around. Let's not forget, like, New England's still a pretty good defense.
Yeah.
This Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette debacle. I mean, that's where it's gonna be the most interesting, because yeah, I think you'll be able to turn out. I mean, literally, I have notes saying very similar to Drew. I think his receiving core, his quarterback, I think he'll be fine. He'll just have to target what I think our league average needs to be to try to win, is 120, and I think he can get that. But yeah, you're right. It's going to blow up, or
it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
Definitely want, in the group chat it was pointed out, and this isn't even on our outline, Nabil, but Travis did get blown up with injuries, and it's worth noting. He's got Dalvin Cook, so he does have one of the top running backs, so I'm not necessarily worried about his depth there as much as with Devin's team, but excuse me, big blow with Blake Jarwin going on the IR, injuries to Philip Lindsay and Devontae Parker that are still is questionable going into the next week. Yes, Devin I think has the worst injury or holes, all things considered, but the injury bug hit Travis the hardest, and that's not close.
Yeah, I'm actually not too worried for him. I mean, look, let's see. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the little depth, because I'm assuming, with waivers tomorrow, that he's likely going to grab a tight end. And
it's going to have to.
I mean, it's a little scarce. Maybe he go ahead and picks up my longtime keeper of OJ Howard, the one that ruined my life. No, I'm just kidding. But in the end, yeah, he'll have to look to the IR, and I guess, to the free agency. But kind of looks like he might be shit out of luck and might need to make a trade for a tight end.
If only there was someone who had multiple good ones. Anyway, moving on. So matchup preview. I do want to do a week of these, and I like the idea of kind of keeping with the championship belt that I was super bored and decided to just figure out during COVID. So Rocha won the belt in his matchup, and he takes it away from Antonio, and so he gets to defend it now against Hunter. I swear there's Hunter. So I played Hunter. So Hunter plays both the Aptos guys an extra time this year. Where is that matchup? Let's take a look. Hunter had a rough week last week, to put it lightly. And I don't know if he's really got a shot this week against Rocha. Right now, looking to start Gibson and Scott at running back just does not have the same ring to it as Aaron Jones and Cam Akers. And Cam Akers isn't even doesn't strike that much fear in my heart. But Rocha's team just looks like the better team.
I mean, there's a 30. Again, Yahoo is not the best at projecting, but there is a 36-point difference, and that's hard to overcome, even with Yahoo not being accurate.
Yeah.
And, I've had conversation with Hunter, and I think he's kind of aware of this situation. But, hey, if anyone likes to wheel and deal, it's Hunter.
Oh,
He can find his way
absolutely.
back.
I know he can find his way back, but Ryan's projected for 146. Part of that being 25 and a half each from Mahomes and Hopkins, which both seem warranted. We already talked about Hopkins. Don't need to go through that again, but like it seems warranted, and it could be a big freaking week for Ryan. And I think he takes the belt a second week in a row.
It's possible that Yahoo just listened to my take about 14 receptions.
They just bumped it up.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, and then I of course was gonna try to look at like, okay, let's find out, like, let's look at a matchup between maybe like some top competitors. Who else? There is one matchup this week between two teams who won, and that is Hoyt and James, our only matchup between teams with winning records. But the second matchup, I had to do it since Nabil and I are playing each other this week. Now, in my opinion, I think I got this one in the bag, but I would love to hear Nabil's opinion on how he thinks this week is going to go.
Honestly, this is the first time you're ever going to have a slightly modest me here. And I need to see it from Beckham, but there's no way that this is how Beckham ends. Because right now he is the foundation, or like my key player as wide receiver. And while I always kind of knew that Fuller is going to take that wide receiver one role after Hopkins, I can't guarantee. Like he is kind of that more boomer bust style player. And
totally.
With Beckham putting up only 3 receptions on 10 targets, that has to change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On a short week too.
I just need people to show up. I need people to show up. That's what
the thing with Beckham for me, it's like on a short week when he's got turmoil in the locker room, it seems like, Baker Mayfield can't throw him the damn ball. He seems like he's unhappy there. He's projected for, on Yahoo, 14.76. Meanwhile, on my side, you got a guy like Sammy Watkins, who, is he the second or third receiving option? Like, I don't know. He's one of those. Projected for 2 full points less than Beckham, but he plays in the best offense in the league. He was clearly involved in the offense last week. It's a long week of recovery. He's coming off of a Thursday night game. Like, how, in my opinion, like, this is the kind of stuff that Yahoo, like, it's like, how is Beckham projected for 2 points more than Watkins? Is it just because he does have that higher, like, chance to go for the 30 to 35 point breakout? I guess. But to me right now, Watkins has the way higher floor over Beckham. And that's like, that's
what's crazy, right?
Right.
By name value, Beckham should have the higher floor. That's why he is projected where he is, because as far as talent, I would say that Beckham is better than Watkins. But
absolutely.
I just looked at the stat line of Watkins, and man, he had 9 targets, 7 receptions, 82 yards, and a touchdown. Like, that's kind of what people always thought he would be, like, before Hill came out, right? Like, it was going to be the Watkins show. And I mean, I do want to say that, like, I think I still got a chance, but
I mean, it's fantasy. Like, of course you have a chance
going in.
I mean,
I like that you just put Hines as your RB2.
Yeah, I mean, so looking at it right now, I've got 3 running backs in my starting lineup for the first time in years, probably. Right now, I just didn't really like the way that Sanders was not getting targets for New Orleans. I think that'll probably go up. Looking at the other running back options, I have Gordon and Peterson. They're not gonna right now start over Hines, who just, like, the starter did go down in Indianapolis, and then he, to me, became the starter. Right now I'm rolling with it. We'll see. That could change. I'm much heavier on the running back side, so it makes sense for me to go 3, play 3 of them anyway than just 2. But yeah, Nyheim Hines, that I always love seeing, like, on whatever fantasy app you have, like, or when you're looking up a guy's stats, and or you just are checking Twitter and you see Matthew Berry saying like, oh yeah, Naheem Hines, like, unowned in 65% of leagues, like he should be picked up on the waiver. He's like, yeah, I got him. So it's always a good feeling.
I mean, let's not forget who traded you Naheem Hines. Was it last year or was it 2 years ago? I think it helped me move up like a couple rounds. But Naheem Hines, he's kind of like the new James White. You know what I mean?
A little bit. Oh yeah, he's always going to be there to help you out when you need.
Exactly.
Okay, so I don't want this to take too much longer, but there's a couple things that I wanted to go. A couple more things. Let's have a section here called just impressive plays or players. Nabil had pointed out to me a couple of guys that he just wanted to talk about. So Nabil, I'll let you go. I don't know if you had the same notes as I do, but you said something about Rodgers. I can't remember exactly what you had texted me about Rodgers, but you wanted to talk about him.
Yeah, I mean, I think more or less the thing is I guess what happened? Why you get such disrespect over the last 2 years? Like, I get that he's not putting up maybe the consistent 20s that he used to.
Right.
But he's still, dare I say, the actual GOAT. Like, watching him play, he is the reason why the Green Bay stays in most games. And so what's weird to me, and knowing that you picked him up as one of your last picks, why wasn't he going around Breeze and Brady, which is funny because those are the two players I took. But when you look at leagues outside of ours, Rodgers felt like I had 3 other drafts that he was either not selected or was picked up as the last pick, yet he's still Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
more throwing it your way.
I am looking at it. I actually picked up Rodgers after Antonio dropped him. I dropped Rodgers. Or I dropped Garoppolo for Rodgers. I drafted Gardner Minshew ahead just because I knew I honestly had the thought that like, okay, I think I really want Minshew. I want to go on that ride. But it was between Minshew and Rodgers that I was making the decision. I knew I wanted a quarterback. I think probably some of the tequila had a little bit to do with why I went with Minshew over Rodgers, because as soon as Antonio dropped him, I knew that I was going to get rid of Garoppolo for Rodgers. Like, I was just like, yeah, like as much as I love Jimmy G more than you do, Nabil, from a fantasy standpoint, Rodgers going all the way to the 14th round in our draft is a surprise, and a welcome one for me. Thanks for dropping him, Antonio.
I mean, honestly, it comes down to being, yet again, and the next play on the list, Russell Wilson.
Wilson,
like,
yes.
This is like another guy that I just think he's never drafted where he's supposed to. And like, I was cursed one year where I picked him up and I got those very average, very mediocre games of like 14, 15 points. But again, he's a guy who's so talented and year after year ends up in like the top 8 quarterbacks. It's just incredible that like we're drafting some people that just have these big names, but Russ is just always there.
Yeah, Wilson was kept this year, obviously, by Drew. So there was, there was. It really was last year that we made the terrible decision to let him fall that far, because obviously now when you look at like all the top scoring fantasy quarterbacks are all guys who can run, and Russell Wilson is almost like the prototype for that type of running player. So yeah, I'm curious to see how both of those guys turn out. Especially, I think Rodgers is basically in a contract year, right? They just drafted his replacement. Like, now it's time to show up and defend that job.
Do you think he's with Green Bay at the end of all this story of end of the season, however it ends up?
At the end of the season, yeah, I think he'll still. I think he'll play this contract out. I'm not sure. I don't know the details of it, but I think he'll end his career somewhere else. That just seems to be the Packer way.
I think maybe the Niners make a move. Get
bring him home. Bring him home. Bring him home. Butte College's finest. So the other guy I want to talk about, and this is from a play that I saw during the Monday night game, Juju Smith-Schuster. And here's the play that so impressed me, and you hear stories about this guy just being like a class act all around like the world. Like, there was a video that just went viral of him like giving some homeless dude like a bag of food like on the street, just because like that's just Juju. Like, he grew up with nothing. I saw him play live in college. He was a great guy. And did you see the fumble recovery he made on Monday night? Dude, I can't. Such an impressive. There's no fantasy stats involved at all, right? And I can't remember who the running back was. It wasn't Connor, but stripped right on the sideline. So might have been Snell. Stripped right on the sideline, surrounded by 5 Giants defenders, and Snell's fallen away from the play. Right, and Juju is surrounded by 5 blue shirts, and he is not the closest one to the ball, and he dives on it, and I see all the Giants, it's like in front of the Giants bench, right? And they're all, yeah, like, we got the ball, because like just you see the fumble, like of course it's going to be Giants ball. And then like I see a Steelers player coming, so no, it's us, and I literally said out loud, like, no way, like there's no way that the Steelers kept the ball, like, and then I see one replay of it, and Juju freaking snuck in there under a huge dog pile where he's getting pinched and pulled and grabbed, and like knuckles twisted into your ribs and all that shit that they do in the piles for a while, and he comes out happy as a clam. He got the ball, and it's first down for Pittsburgh. Dude, I love watching him play football. Obviously, the fumble recovery has nothing to do at all with fantasy, but he had the presence of mind to get 2 feet back in bounds before he dove on it too, so it wasn't illegal touching. Like, dude's a stud. I love watching him play.
I mean, let's keep this in mind. You were the first person to ever draft him in our league, and we're all like, Juju, who? Like, right. What? Like, that didn't make sense. But
I'll be a Juju stan.
I couldn't agree more. There's something about watching him play that I think was why there was so much hype last year. And I had him and burned me. But like him with Big Ben under center. Was it really the quarterback? Was he really injured? There's like so many question marks. But he's just talented. And you're right. Like, it's the positivity, overall, great guy. Love him.
Great guy.
Love that he plays Fortnite, that he's a super nerd into it.
I think Juju and Cam Newton, and a little bit, and I'll throw even like George Kittle in there. Those 3 guys all are like the perfect example of when guys are having fun, they play so much better. And so I'm excited to see how Cam can keep doing over there in New England, because when they are enjoying themselves, like they're gonna build on that. Like, they all play with different styles of emotion, but with so much emotion that it's just fun to watch them play. Had to give a shout out to my guys.
Exactly.
All right, two more segments here. I have a trivia question for you, and then actually one more thing I'm going to introduce, I think, to the weekly show based on the trivia questions. So Kevin texted me, Nabil, on either Sunday evening or Monday mid-morning or so. We were at a point, everyone in the league was on pace to score at least 100 points in the week. And he was asking me, he's like, how often do you think that happens? We did not all score 100. By the way. Hunter ended up scoring like 94 or 95, was the only one to miss it. And so that's one thing I am going to introduce later is I want to keep track of, if we were a guillotine league, like you eliminate the lowest score each week, like who would end up being the champion of our league. So Hunter's eliminated from the virtual guillotine contest. But Nabil, how many times and I went back and counted them, how many times do you think all 12 participants in the league scored at least 100 fantasy points in the same week? Going back to 2013, the 2013 season.
2013.
So 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So
honestly,
seven.
I can't imagine it happening too much. Honestly, I want to go with something like I want to go 8.
It's lower. It's 4. It's only 4 times ever. So we did it. The last time we did it was in 2018. I didn't write down the week number. I can, if anyone is actually interested in it, I can. Last time we did it was in 2018, so we didn't do it all last year. Before that, you got to go all the way back to 2015, and then we did it once each in 14 and 13. Now, if you lower the threshold for lowest score to like 95, there are like 8 to 10 more weeks that pop up that would count. And even if you lower it a little bit to like 98, there's like 4 more weeks that would have counted. So we've gotten very close a bunch of times, but only 4 times ever have we all scored 100 points. We missed it by just about 4 or 5 because Hunter was just a little bit short this week.
What did you say after 2018? When was the last time that happened?
That was the last time that happened. We did not have one this year. Oh, but
No, sorry.
going backwards in 15, yeah. So it happened once each in the years 13, 14, 15, and 18.
So
it did not happen in 16, 17, or 19.
What's weird isn't 2015 when we started keepers?
Yeah, so it's getting rarer, and this is kind of what Kevin and I was hoping you would kind of figure this out. Like, it's getting more. And what Kevin and I were talking about is this an indicator that there's more like separation? Like the league, it doesn't have the same parity every year as in a redraft league, because there is clearly times when, we don't want to say the T word, but when teams are tanking and not focus on trying to win this year, and you're going to be much less likely to score 100 if that's the case. Or you just didn't have enough draft capital going into the year to start out well, and you're going to have some of those 80 to 90 point weeks. I think keepers are a factor in that, but I don't know if there's really a way to prove it or to tell conclusively.
Well, I think if you actually think about it, it kind of makes sense, because it'd be interesting to see like how many people are the reason why it drops below, right? Because I can remember at the end of the year, we had some like sluggish games of just like low 70s, 80s. And I would agree. I think it is kind of tied to this quote unquote tanking. And when, a lot of people determine, myself included, that kind of once I'm at the 6 loss mark, unless I have some wins already, if I'm 0-6, right, I might start thinking about making moves
build for next year. Yeah.
It does throw away the opportunity to possibly score above 100. So no, and it makes sense. And I think it would directly correlate, because there's just some teams with talent, right? Like if you find that diamond in the rough, you're good.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, we'll keep track of. So a lot of those segments we'll do again, including this last one coming up. So we'll try to do some game or team reviews, some more matchup reviews, teams of the week, matchup previews, things we're impressed about. Oh, we did skip one though that we're gonna go back to, Nabil. Now I think about it, the optimal prime was the name of what you said for this. So the idea here is who screwed up the worst. And I hope that you had an answer in mind, because I really haven't looked at this. But
I did.
Who did the worst job of managing their bench? Is the idea?
It's kind of that, but it's also just kind of interesting, right? Because and you talked about this, like some of it will be attributed to the fact that why would you start one player or player A over player B? Because it just no one would. And I think this kind of works out. And so I'm going to go with the pun here, but to roll out the first example for Optimus Prime or Optimal Prime is, I think, the matchup between myself and Hoyt. Right. If you look at the optimal lineup, with Dallas Goedert and Jamison Crowder both sitting on my bench, I could have scored 150 with little to no change to Hoyt's overall score. And I think that's one of those things that, like, if you look at it, when
Hoyt
would I
nailed his lineup, though. I think Hoyt did set an optimal lineup.
It might be off by a couple points.
Maybe by a couple, yeah. But the point is, you left a lot of points on this table by going with Cook over Goddard, and then Crowder. But would you really have started Crowder? That's like, would you have started Crowder over Odell? Like, maybe you start Crowder over Kenyon Drake in the flex.
Right. And while that would have given me
that would have been enough. But that would have been enough. Optimal. Yeah. You had a few opportunities to get the win, and you didn't get it done.
Look, not that I need to justify my loss here, because it already hurts enough. But my justification for the Jared Cook and Breeze stack, right? I was looking for that stack in a game that I was anticipating to be a shootout. And while I thought Goddard was a good choice, I made the switch pretty last minute. It'd be interesting to look at exactly when that transaction was made, or when I switched them. But yeah, I wasn't going to start Jamison Crowder. It blew up in my face, I guess, because why would OBJ only catch 3 out of 10 targets?
Right. And then in quarterback,
let's not dwell on that.
At quarterback, you picked the guy who won and Drew Brees, but the guy who you sat, Tom Brady, actually scored 7 more fantasy points. looking at the final score, Hoyt 114.86 to Nabil's 105.6. Nabil, of course, with 112.68 points on the bench, meaning his bench, which I think is a legal starting lineup other than, oh, no, it's not. He still has Joe Burrow as well. So not quite a perfect flip-flop. You know, you can't move everybody, but yeah, Nabil's bench did outscore his starters, and that's always a fun way to start off fantasy football, huh?
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
I already know that I'm going to have this weird little merry-go-round of quarterbacks, so we'll figure it out.
All right, last thing, you know, I made my bold prediction last week that was incorrect, that Gronkowski would score multiple touchdowns. I was telling Nabil, like, my bold predictions are going to be things that are, like no one else in the league will think of. Either like they just don't think it'll happen or they won't think of. But here's my bold prediction. Austin Seibert, the ex-Brown, going to the Bengals, signed today. Signed today. Austin Seibert is ex-Brown, signed by the Bengals today. The Bengals play in Cleveland on Thursday, and he's going to have a monster revenge game. What position does Austin Seibert play? He's the kicker, of course. And revenge games are a thing. So if you're looking for a kicker, Austin Seibert, the ex-Brown, going back to Cleveland, look for him to have 15 points as a kicker. That's my bold prediction. 15, 1 5. There's my bold prediction. Nabil.
I mean, that kind of makes sense. You said he got signed by Cleveland, right? Like, they're not scoring.
He got signed by Cincinnati.
I know that. I have OBJ. So, he got signed by Cincinnati.
Yeah, no, they get signed by Cincinnati. They're playing in Cleveland. So yeah, that's the bold prediction. 15 points from Austin Seibert.
Oh.
Yeah. Nabil, you said you had
so much more fun than mine.
Well, I want to hear yours.
Ooh.
He's been hyping this up for a while now.
A little. Okay, well, that's because I'm going for the second one. I'm going to say two. One is going to be football player specific, similar to yours. Okay, mine's going to be Cam Newton. Will again rush for more than 50 yards.
Okay.
Will pass his first 2 passing touchdowns as a Patriot, and will rush for a touchdown.
Okay, so 3 total touchdowns, 2 in the air, 1 on the ground, and over 50 yards rushing is Nabil's prediction. I'd say it's bold because you're saying a very well-rounded game from Cam. Like, obviously he's capable of doing all of that, but actually putting it all together. And who do they play next week? That's the other thing that I guess I don't know that would help me determine how bold of a prediction.
I believe they go up against Seattle, which is the reason why I think he'll get 2 passing touchdowns. They will rush for a touchdown, whether it's him or
someone will.
You know, James White or something.
But it's tough to score in Seattle, so at least 3 touchdowns is a prediction from the hands of Cam Newton. I'd like to see it. I'd like to see anyone beat Seattle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The sea chickens. I'll be nice. Apparently, this is a PG-13. Okay, my last prediction, okay, and
right.
This is where it's about the league. And while I talked up this player about having a very low floor, he will get defeated by Drew's Chinese nuts to remain as the leader of the league at the end of week 2, despite his RB issues. I think he will end up at the top of the leaderboard with 2 wins.
Drew Kitchen over Antonio? Is that your pick?
That is my bold league prediction, is that Drew will win. That he's projected lower. We already talked about his running back woes. Drew Kitchen.
I'm looking at it right now. He's projected to win by 12 points. He's getting 27 points projected from Devontae Adams. No, and you're saying Antonio's going to beat Drew or Drew's going to win?
No, I'm saying Drew's going to win. Drew's going to be on top of the leaderboard too.
Yeah, you're after week 2, he's going to still be number 1 in the league. That's the.
Oh wait, right. You're crazy. I'm crazy. I didn't realize that. Devontae. I think they're editing these projections. I think they must be. These wide receivers.
Also, yeah, dude, 27. Look. Hold on. That.
I swear that got changed.
That's that. There's no way Devontae Adams should be projected for 27. I could see him being projected for 22, but 27 seems incorrect. So anyway,
I swear, I looked. I thought it was at 27.
a
That's
2
my
and 0
projection.
first
Is that
2 and 0
Drew,
first
go
place
ahead and
Drew. That would be something. Let's wrap it up here. I'm sure no one listened to us talk for this long. Nabil, thanks for joining me. And if you got anything else to say, yeah, I'll give you the last word.
I don't need one. I think you hear enough from me all the time.
Sounds good. All right, take it easy. Good luck with waivers, everybody. Or hope it went well for you. Well, not too well because I don't want you to beat me out on anything. Depending on when you hear this. Anyway, talk to you soon.
Bye.
There's the recording.